Hi there. So, storytelling hour, or maybe half an hour, we'll see how it goes. But this is a short story I wrote back in February called Mirage. So, I'm going to be looking sort of towards the side of the screen as I read, but hopefully I'll stay on the page and we'll be on the same page. Mirage. Mira often said, with tartness, men who grow beards have something to hide. Ashley, the youngest, but she was a tomboy and preferred Ashley, wondered why she was so insistent, holding forth like this over a pine-panelled kitchen bench in suburban Perth. Mira had a point, but where it was going, who knew? In contrast, for Benazir Bhutto, she had nothing but praise. Benazir surely had nothing to hide, and certainly no beard. Mira, who considered herself a Christian woman, chose her pantheon with care. Benazir, Muslim, yes, but glamorous, secular, a woman in power of a nation. Her Western education, her protected skin. Mira was applying moisturizer, looking in the mirror. Ash knew what her sisters would say, smirking. Mum, no amount of oil of Ulan or Pond's cream is going to deliver you from your moustache. Why don't you wax? They were cruel. Ash looked at Mira. The hair above her lip, dark of course, against Mira's olive skin, exotic in her younger days in very white Perth, wasn't out of place. Why couldn't a woman embrace the change? Why should she conform? Given the injunction about beards, though, she wondered, is Mum hiding anything? Well, no. It's the menopause. Women of a certain age. Heritage, a voice chirps. Where did that come from? But that's not Benazir, who could, as Mira gesticulated, setting her tear aflight, be a Vogue cover model. Still at the table, Ash asks, why not Indira Gandhi, Mum? That would make more sense, given where your dad was born. Mira's quick response was, it was Burma, actually. British India. Anyway, why do such borders matter? Bhutto is simply ravishing. Ash pondered. Ravishing was not a word she'd heard Mira use before, and certainly not about men. Even the Welshman, the Welsh rarebit, she seemed so whimsical about. Why not relish? Well, that was not a rarebit. It was a condiment. Bhutto was continental, well, subcontinental, to be more accurate. Whenever Bhutto appeared on television, Mira dropped her knitting, emitting shush-shush sounds. She became entranced. Idol worship, Ash uttered, knowing it would get under Mira's skin. Anything but, Mira returned. I'm simply interested in history, in the making, and she's a champion of women's rights. Which women? Ash thought. Mira had scorned Ash for dressing like a boy. It's ungainly, but praised her for her assiduousness at school, even though Ash also liked soccer. Yes, the girls' team, a bit too much. Benazir studied at Harvard and Oxford, you know. Ash flinched. Leaving the room to exit out into the flatlands of Armadale, she hammered out her annoyance against the asbestos fence with a soccer ball. Mira only praised Ash when she scored high marks, not goals. And Ash had other ideas, but they seemed well out of place in this suburb, sun beating down constantly, where few, if any, from her school ended up at university. What options were there? Where did you go, dear? You missed Benazir speaking about the troubles in Kashmir. Ash shrugged and went into her bedroom, which was decorated with Duran Duran posters, several of Culture Club and another one of George Michael. They were her sister's tastes, who were older than her, from a different era, but she still loved them. There weren't many options, were there, for Ash? An Anglo-Indian tomboy, except maybe Salt and Pepper or Queen Latifah. She was sick of her mother's ravings. She turned on some music. Ash didn't like being down or judgy towards her mum, even though she couldn't relate. Mira had suffered too, albeit her adage was, emphasise the positive, springing around like Maria in the sound of music. They moved to the area after her parents' divorce. Her father had taken off with another woman and Mira was left to pick up pieces. At church, a year later, she'd met a man, someone she also began to idolise, you know the sort, and Welsh. Mira was wistful, but the relationship fizzled. Mira had taken to her bed for 2 days and was beside herself saying, "He promised me marriage." The kids were going to be Ash's new brother and sister, both blonde and an unlikely mix. There was a knock at the door. Of course it was Mira. "Why don't you come and join us for tea, Ash? Don't be antisocial." Ash turned down the salt and pepper on her Walkman and begrudgingly followed Mira back into the kitchen. Her 2 sisters, Anne and Paula, were there chatting, and Mira pulled out some scones from the hot oven. Ash wasn't like Anne or Paula. They both had boyfriends, or suitors, as Mira said, and would be out of the nest soon. Anne had only popped in to visit Mira on her way to the movies with Trevor, her beau. Paula was a bit more composed, but today seemed nervous, picking at her nails. "So, what's up?" Ash asked, breaking the silence. "What do you want to know, Ashgar?" bit Anne, as she flicked her raven hair, immaculately styled. Anne got adoring looks from Mira as, working at a bank, she was coming up in the world and had landed a man. "She's just trying to make conversation," said Paula. "That fits loosely," replied Anne. Ash gave her sister the finger and went to sit down. "Mum, can we turn off the news now? There's enough already to stress about," said Paula. "What kind of stress do you have, my dear? Look at everything you have. There's nothing to worry about." Worry what? Did worry really cause warts? Ash imagined a constant worrier might turn into some cave-dwelling creature. Sometimes in her room she felt like that, even with the intrusive visit of Anne, who considered herself superior soy sauce, like the dark syrupy bottle label said. It was better to have company. "Don't you have any friends?" Anne asked. Mira interrupted. "She's busy studying. She's got other things on her mind. You watch her. She'll be a great person one day. Maybe like—" "Mum, leave it," Ash sighed. Paula got up to turn off the TV. "No, I'm taping it in case there's further news on Bhutto." "But it's all so messy. Why bother?" Paula asked. "This is verging on obsession, Mum." "What about the movie stars you used to love?" asked Anne. Mira laughed. "What, Clark Gable?" Mira didn't have what she called Bhutto's pedigree or even star in life. Her sister, Regina, would laugh and say, "We're not thoroughbreds." Well, that was part of the story, but so was the fall from grace the Anglo-Indian brothers took, including Mira's father, gambling all on a farm they named in Farsi in Wheatbelt, Western Australia, and losing it. Mira's mother had to bail them out, including her husband. Men, Mira would comment. Her own mother, Victoria, had borne it all. Yet so had Bhutto. She had dalliances with heads of states on the world stage, but she had to present as a good Muslim woman in that world of men. She had struggles, yes, her struggles with men. Asif, for example, Mr. 10%, and all he embroiled her in. Yet in the West she was a star. Oh, when she met George Bush, remember that gown? I mean, the shalvar kameez, simply glorious. "Let's not talk politics right now," said Mira. The pastor is coming by soon. The pastor of the local church where Mira began going, first urged on by Anne, was resolute. Mira practiced yoga, had a green-tinged Buddha from India ferreted away, and even a kitchen witch, but these were all out of sight as soon as Reverend Reg visited. Mira was meeting with Rev Reg to discuss Saturday night prayers, to be held, what an honour, at her own rental property. "Mum, you know that's when I have Bertha stay." Contrary to Anne's insinuations, Ash did have friends. But it was set. Mira saw this entree of the church into her home, a female-led household after all, as her boss move. She would have to dress the part, still subdued, of course. The turquoise dress her ex-husband had gifted her would not do. Something more decorous, perhaps, white with a brooch and a small cross on a necklace. Reg approved. The deal was sealed. Mira never spoke about her past beyond being the talk of the town as a young lady that men called Cleopatra for her dark looks. Ash wanted to ask her more, but with Mira, the wrong word, the wrong look could turn her into Ice Queen, and you are shut out. God's judgment was not needed. Mira's was enough. After scones and chatter, Anne said she was off, and Paula said she might go too, but needed to talk to Ash. Between lips she whispered parenthetically, privately. Paula ushered Ash down the plastic runner corridor, away from the kitchen where Mira was busy cleaning dishes after Rev Reg had visited. "There's a lot Mum doesn't say," she added. "What do you mean, Paula?" "Well, for starters, the owner of this place wants to sell. Did you know?" Ash is dumbstruck. "No, I didn't. So why is she planning on prayer meetings here?" "In part to make some money, as it will provide for the supper. She'll provide for the supper and venue." Bloody Mum. What's wrong with being honest about it? It's not just that. She told me recently she had had a baby out of wedlock. What's wedlock? I mean, with a man she met before Dad, when she was young. Nana made her give him up. Ash felt faint. How do you know all this? Why hasn't she told any of us? She feels guilty because she's supposed to be a good Christian woman now? I wouldn't judge her. I just wonder, how can you keep a secret that long? Don't tell her I told you. But I thought I should. She just blurted it out to me one day while holding some kind of document like a letter. But I can't just pretend. Mum does. Paula left and Ash went back into her room, spinning. It was late now. Saturday night prayers were tomorrow, and she toyed with talking to Mira, but instead decided to go for a walk. Walking down Outram Road, Ash could see boys kicking beer cans, echoing down the street. Normally she'd fixate on those hooligans, but this was too much to mull over. She needed air. It dawned on Ash. There was a brother. What would it have been like to have grown up with him and not just Anne and Paula? Kicked a ball with baby man X. Paula was sweet, but she was still hard to connect with at times. Ash wasn't like them. Now Mum had a baby boy. Ash had so many questions, but she feared the Ice Queen moment, which could last for days. Ash walked to the one Indian kiosk all the way to Kelmscott and ordered a cutty roll. It was the only shop that stayed open late. Mr. Doobie was stacking chairs when she walked in. "Why so pensive, Ashji? Would you like a masala tea?" Ash assented silently, but then she began to talk. "I know a lady. Well, she has a secret. Gentlemen as well. Sometimes marriage is hard, but they put up with us. Wedlock. Yes, it can be a kind of lock, can't it?" Munching on the roll, piling on pickle on top of the chutney, Ash thought about how stuck she felt. Like Mira, there were things she hadn't said. Well, there was no secret child, unlike Mira's adult by now, all of 30, probably. No, it wasn't just ladies, Mr. Doobie. It was also Ash. Why couldn't she tell her mum about what was going on for her? That dressing as a boy wasn't some kind of errancy. Ash had never felt ladylike and was even told to cross her legs at school. Others mocked her with the usual slurs. But perhaps now, with Mira, she could unpick that lock. Thanks, Doobs, Ash said knowingly. I can always rely on you. Ash exited the shop through the rainbow fly-strip door. The street was quiet now. Passing Kelmscott railway station, she could see a few sniffers on the make, but nothing was too worrying. Worry what? All for what? She walked all the way back to Outram Road. The house was still. Where was Mira? Mum? Yes, Ash, I'm here. I'm just saying my nightly prayers. Is there anything you want to tell me? Mira looked uncomfortable. She turned the question round. Why do you smell of mango achar? I talked to Ashok, at the kiosk. Yes, 2 ashes, I see. Ash smiled. It's about a boy, Ash said suddenly. Are you seeing someone? Mira's face lit up. No, someone who could have been, or was, or will be. Dear, why are you speaking in code? I'm afraid, Mum. God understands everything. Now, dear, I need to get ready for bed. So do you. 2 months passed. Ash thought of that moment, whether Mira had unlocked the code. She probably hadn't. She was too busy with prayer meetings, counting her money, balancing the ledger. A move was in order. Anne semi-scandalised Mira by moving in with Trevor, but she kept it under wraps from Rev Reg. Ash was more concerned about year 12 next year and how to get out of Armour Hole. They moved to a place in Camillo. Same old, but cheaper. The prayer meetings moved there too, with the grumbling Dachshund farting under the table when attendees were gathered in silent contemplation. Ash was doing well in sport, not so much with academics, as Mira liked to call them. A trip was pending with her team, the Woggles, to Sydney. For Mira, it was all too much. You need to concentrate on your studies. Mum, this is the only thing I like doing that keeps me here. What do you mean here? You want to go to Sydney? That sounds like getting away from me. Goodness, as if Benazir being in exile wasn't enough. Mira huffed. Mum, it's not about you or Benazir. I want this. I'm desperate. Ash did hold hope that there was something else in that exile. It was decided. The school was paying. The Woggles, called WA Girls. A lot of people thought it was a contraction, but it wasn't. They were named after the dreaming snake because of a lot of Noongar girls being in the team. Well, they were off to Sydney to compete. Ash was excited for the game, of course, but also for the bright lights of a big city, so different from outer suburban Perth. And they were a strong team. We're like family, they all agreed. She'd be away from Mira, away from the church, from Armour Hall, for a whole week. Sydney was hot, sweaty, very different from Perth. But it felt, Ash imagined, like India. With the girls, they took the train to Circular Quay. There were tourists everywhere. Ash swore she heard 5 languages at once, none of them settling. It was overwhelming, but something in it felt like a future. On the train, Ash witnessed sideways a handsome or striking young man with a voice just cracking. He was maybe in his 20s. How was that possible? Ash felt a shiver. It was a weird thought. Ash wasn't into men. Oh, what would Mira say? But there was something a bit edgy about the boy. It was with a girl who dressed up like the lead singer from Delight. Femme, yes. But they were both different. Like me? Ash pondered. So the Sydney jaunt was a success. Not only did the Woggles win, but Ash was spotlighted as goalie and even appeared on TV. Mira was begrudgingly proud but said, "You still have to finish school." I never said I wouldn't. By the end of Year 12, exams done, Ash was offered a sports scholarship. She found it hard to break the news to Mira, but the institute was offering it. Well, it was based over in East. That meant relocating. One Sunday, after Saturday night prayers, Ash worked up the courage to break it to Mira. "It's a chance of a lifetime, Mum. But you could do so much more than this, pipe dream." Mira planted her fist on the dining room table, which scared Ash. "Why, Ash, in spite of everything, are you such a boy? It's true what Anne said. You're much more like Ashgar than Ashley." "I never liked that name." "Well, little last morn, there are a lot of things in this life not to like, but we must still get on with it." "That's what I'm doing, Mum." Mira went silent. "I had a boy once." "Mum?" "Yes, you heard what I said." "I know, Mum. Paula told me." Wiping her tears, Mira proceeded. "Well, you are not he, and I don't want to talk any more about the past. You have my blessing." Ash passed Year 12 with flying colours. She thought back to the rainbow fly strip. The rainbow seemed so much more gay, she thought. How flippant. At Mr. Doobie's kiosk. He was brimming with excitement about her departure and gave her some pop chart to celebrate. "I must put up a poster of you so all can see." "Okay, Doobs, but no bend it like Beckham references, okay?" Bertha took it with grace. Nothing had ever happened between them, really, besides a kind of fangirl obsession, which took it on more hold when the Woggles bagged the cup. All she said was, "I'll miss you." Ash thought, wow, she didn't feel that tie. Yes, she liked Bertha, but something else was waiting for her in Sydney. Medals? Trophies? Maybe, or just the chance to breathe. Little did Ash know, it would be 6 years until the return. A lot happened. Well, yes, medals, championships. She had defected, it is true, and joined the Sydney team. You could hear Anne's withering voice saying, "I always knew you battled for the other team. Idiot. You kick." For as long as Ash had known, things weren't right. It wasn't just Mira and her fantasies, although sometimes it was like living in a hyperbaric chamber being in that Camilla house. Maybe that's why Ash kept distance, apart from the occasional phone call. Ash felt that competing with the girls now wasn't even right. In the consultation room, Ash had to respond to a ream of questions. "How long have you known this?" asked Dr. Patel, a psychiatrist Ash was seeing in Surrey Hills, close to where Ash lived with a bunch of queerdos, as they dubbed themselves. They were a motley crew, but Ash's backup. Months living around there had shown Ash something. How to have fun, yes, on Oxford Street. Strobing lights in the Colombian. Beer and banter. But it wasn't all parties, drag kings or queens. Ash felt the possibility of waking up for the first time rush through her like the adrenaline of blocking an opposing kick. A new life. I have to do this, Ash thought. Before, back in Perth, he was always out of sync. Ghost in a shell, Ash put it. Remembering that manga film. Sighing, Ash replied. Probably forever. I would have dropped out of school if my mum hadn't constantly badgered me to keep up my studies. That's life under Mira's regime. Is Mira your mum? Yes. She always wanted me to be like Benazir. Psyche looks confused. Look, every day is becoming a marathon to get through lately. I felt it back home too, just couldn't or wasn't able to be. You mean not even in the soccer team? Even they picked it up and called me Ash Bro. A pause. Dr. Patel shifts gears. Well, we'll start with the Bloods and go from there. Ash was daunted but relieved. It was bracing but exciting. There were no plans to go back to Perth. Transition wasn't the only journey Ash was on. He needed to move on from soccer and find another path, a full-time job, maybe further study. You never concentrated enough, Ash could hear Mira saying. Watch out what tea can do, Mum. Well, maybe not. Like any athlete, Ash stared down an obstacle course, but it was one Ash was prepared to take. Finally, maybe just being able to look in the mirror and feeling you were reflected back. For Mira, Ash was missing in action. But what would she know? Something was missing, and something should never have been there. What can you get through the eye of a needle? A lot, actually. Ash laughed internally. 2007 was going to be a good year. Ash felt it like fog clearing, finally. It was only in January 2008, barely having crossed the New Year threshold, that Ash got a frantic phone call from Anne. Mum's sick. What? She's losing her marbles. Doesn't make any sense, Anne. Why didn't you call me out of the blue to say that? Why is your voice so deep? Is Paula with you? Can you put her on the line? Anne sighed and passed the phone to her sister. They say it might be dementia. She's also in hospital with an infection. They're doing lots of tests. The CT scan shows vascular changes in the brain. It was hard to take it all in. Ash didn't know where to begin. What kind of infection? We don't know. Maybe a UTI? Mum keeps raving. She's upset about Bhutto being assassinated. She doesn't even seem to realise she's in hospital. Can you come? Ash was shocked and felt like chucking up. Sure, Dad put distance between them, but could they hold it off much longer? So many years now in Sydney, and pole vaulted into this. Ash scrambled to purchase a flight. Synth, one of the queerdos, said, "You'll be all right. Just do you, boo." "Boy," Ash corrected, both laughing. Anne and Paula wouldn't be prepared for this, but Mira? Ash ironically felt good in his own skin. Those years away, it was like stripping off the layers. He felt he was grounded after all the movement. Arriving at Charles Gardner Hospital, Anne and Paula were there, but the first to explain was Anne. "Good God, you've changed." Yes, Ash had some facial hair now, but it wasn't hiding anything. Yeah, he didn't want to talk about it right then. Let's focus on Mum, okay? Mira was dozing, but the sound of a deep voice roused and said, "My son." "Mum, it's me, Ash." "Oh, my Ashgar. They've killed Benazir. Did you know?" "Mum, it's awful. I know. But I'm here to see you." "What took you so long?" Paula glanced at Anne and nudged her out to the foyer. "Anne, come on, let's leave them alone for a while." "My boy." Mira uttered again with a distraught look. Mum, it's me. I always knew you'd come back. Mira shifted in the bed. You know, my mother treated me so poorly. Everything about her was so judgmental. I never had to give the baby up. He could have been your brother. Ash, in spite of 12 months on D, couldn't hold back the tears. Mum, tell me more. I'm here for you. He was a jazz musician, someone I met dancing at La Spaggia. My mother warned me about those places, not where you meet a suitor. But I loved him. Maybe she was right, though. Why was Nana like that? He was married. I wasn't. It's history, Mira sighed. Ash wondered how Mira could piece things together like this, seeming so out of it. But Mira spoke like a time traveller. Ah, you see the cats? It's the delirium from the infection, whispered Paula, re-entering the room. You okay? Ash was shaken but uttered, I'm fine. There's something moist in the air. Right there, Mira uttered suddenly. Anne, coming back from the lit foyer, said, Mum, it's just a mirage. Something in the darkness. You should get some sleep. But I haven't said my prayers, Mira protested. You can when the Reverend comes, okay? Ash, you are so beautiful. I saw the poster Mr. Doobie put up. It's not Vogue, but still. The orderlies were doing their rounds in the corridor, and the early evening meal was ushered in. Ash looked at the mashed potato and carrots, and the silver side. Not Mira's cup of tea, or teacup, as Mr. Doobie would say. Mum, I don't like seeing you like this. Well, you didn't see me in so long, my dear. What did you expect? The tartness was still there, but the mask had lifted for a few minutes. Your cousin is still cricket mad, she pronounced. Regina's boy. What am I to tell them? There's a lot to tell, I guess. There's that little swirl again. I swear it's wet and gyrating. Mum, it's a mirage, Anne repeated. I don't like marriage, Mira joked. She ate her dinner, seemingly oblivious, and asked for the ceiling TV to be turned on. I want to hear the eulogies. Mum, you're not dead, Paula joked. No, but you kids will be the end of me one day. Ash needed a break. I'm just going to go to the toilet, okay? There's a unisex one down the corridor on the right, Anne interrupted. I'll find my way. In the toilet, Ash struggled to get air in. Palpitations. What the fuck? Did Mira even see him? Or what was she even seeing? It was too much. Then Ash scotched the thought. It's not about you. Just as Ash returned, Mira herself was being ushered into the corridor. I need to pee, she uttered, smiling. The hospital gown was open slightly at the back, and Ash rushed to cover her. The girls had brought her favourite sandalwood perfume, which left a trail of scent on the ward. That's my son, all the way from Sydney, you see. He came back, Mira said to a nurse. In the toilet, Mira needed assistance, but was determined to brush her own teeth. Ash accompanied her. No thanks, she said. All mine. She looked in the mirror, Ash behind her, in black pants and shirt. All 4 feet of her olive skin, now aged but free of oil of Yulan, still whiskered a bit at the edges.